WBGO listeners, it is my great honor to welcome to this show the 56th governor of the state of New Jersey, Phil Murphy, who is also a very, very good friend of mine. We go back, I think, 15 years when you were ambassador to Germany and I was general counsel of the Department of Defense, and we spent Thanksgiving Day 2010 together touring military hospitals in Germany. It was a great day, and I'm so proud and pleased that you're able to join us. And I want to say to our listeners, you've been a fantastic supporter of this radio station the last 8 years as governor. You participated in Ask Governor Murphy, I think, once a month. I was told this morning that you've also participated in something called Sports Jam. I'm going to come back to that. But Governor Murphy, welcome to my show, All Things Soul with WBGO, and thank you for your time, sir.
Hey, Jay, it's great to be with you. Indeed, you and I go way back, and that's quite a memory, visiting Landstuhl Military Hospital in Germany. And you have been an extraordinary public servant and a great friend. So thrilled to be with you. And WBGO is a New Jersey gem. There's no other way to put it. I'm honored to have done Ask the Governor, I think, every month since I've been governor, even through COVID. And those have been great experiences. Doug Doyle, you rightfully point out, and I have gone at it on the sports front. And Steve Williams, who's your CEO and president, is a great leader and a dear friend. So for all those reasons, Jay, thrilled to be with you.
Oh, thanks for that. And with all public officials that I interview, I do want to note that this interview is pre-recorded on December 2nd, 2025. We expect to air this show later in the month, but I did want to note that because of national and state level events. So, Governor, looking back on these 8 years now, and you have just about a month left in your term, what are the things that you think of first, of which you are most proud when you were governor of the state of New Jersey?
Yeah, Jay, so I haven't given the sort of reflection, legacy dimension enough time, and I'm kind of mad at myself. And part of the reason is that it has been so frenetic and volatile dealing with Washington, the administration, with stuff coming out of Congress, that it's sucked all of my free time that I otherwise would have been able to put my feet up, have a Budweiser, and think about what we've done over the past 8 years. But a couple of things occur to me. Number one, I think most importantly, we are who we said we would be. I mean by that, in politics, you often get folks who run on one basis and govern on a different basis. And whether folks liked everything we did or not is kind of beside the point. We haven't hoodwinked anybody. We didn't bait and switch. We are exactly who we said we'd be. We're pro-growth progressives. In recent years, I've called myself a proud progressive and a cold-blooded capitalist. That's who we are. Another way to answer it is we campaigned, now going on 10 years ago, on the stronger, fairer, more responsible, the three pillars in terms of what underpinned our beliefs, our values, our aspirations. And we've stuck to that. Stronger is growing the economy, more jobs. Fairness is shrinking inequities, particularly across racial lines. And responsible is being a state that folks could trust again. If you're a public sector worker, are we making the full pension payment? Yeah. Are we fully funding the school funding formula? First administration to ever do that. Have we fully funded property tax relief programs like Anchor? Yes, we have. Rating agencies, instead of downgrading us, which was the case for many years, they've upgraded us 9 times. So I'd say we've stuck to our knitting, I think, Jay, as opposed to any one particular thing that stands out. We are who we said we would be. We've done what we said we would do. We're not perfect. We haven't accomplished everything by any means, but we've been on the journeys that we promised would be on in the right direction and have made meaningful progress, I would argue, across the board.
So, unfinished business for the state of New Jersey. What is it that, what work has to go on after you leave office for the benefit of this state?
Yeah. In other words, what did we not get to?
Well, you've started a lot of terrific things, but very often great things can't be accomplished in the span of one governor's administration over 8 years. So what's the unfinished business that you want to see continue?
Just a footnote, if I may. It is very rare. First of all, if you're a Democrat as governor of New Jersey, it's rare to win re-election. We were the first ones to do that in 44 years. It's even rarer that the same party can staple together at least 3 consecutive terms.
Right.
And
That's
so
a
I
good
want to
point.
give a shout out to Mikey Sherrill and Dale Caldwell, who have done just that. And I say that because while they'll do things their own way, and they're superstars, I love their vision. I love their life experience. They're going to be great for New Jersey. And again, they'll be their own folks. But broadly speaking, when you look at what they believe in and what their aspirations are, in terms of the arc of history, it's largely in the same direction that we've been going in for the past 8 years. And that's a big deal because, you look at abrupt shifts. Look at Barack Obama, who you and I worked for, and all that he accomplished. And then he's succeeded by Donald Trump with a very different vision for America, just to pick one example. That has not happened in New Jersey, and that's a blessing, not just for what we've done, but what will come after us. So in that context, I would say I would love to have done more of the same. I'll give you one example. We've done these strategic innovation centers. There's 12 of them. They're a combination typically of higher ed, the state's economic development authority, a big corporate or two, an accelerator out of Silicon Valley or someplace else. And the intention, most importantly for my taste, is to reboot the startup economy in New Jersey. We've done 12 of them. We had hoped that by the way, that was probably double what we set out to do. But in the past 6 months, boy, I would have loved to have squeezed off another 1 or 2 of them. That's one sort of tactical example.
Right.
We're going to run through the tape. We still have a lot of balls in the air. There's a lame duck legislative session. There are appointments to make, judges and beyond. But we'll be sprinting through to January 20th and thrilled that Mikey and Dale will be picking the baton up from us.
You remind me of what it felt like 9 years ago at the end of the Obama administration. I suspect you're driving your staff crazy, keeping them busy at the last minute with things you want to get done before you leave January 20. Governor, what was the biggest frustration you faced over the last 8 years in office?
By the way, on that first point, Jay, you could not be more right. I'm guilty as charged. We got a lot of balls in the air, and it feels like every day we're putting more of them in the air. Biggest frustration, I'm not sure there's one that jumps out. I'll give you a profound one. The early days of COVID, and by the way, I'm hardly alone in this. Even the public health experts would join me, I think, in this assessment. That in the early days, and that sort of March, April, May, June of 2020, incredibly frustrating that we didn't know the answers to all our questions. And people, as you know, New York City and New Jersey got hit first in that wave. We ultimately lost over 35,000 precious lives in New Jersey. But early on, and you'll remember this, are masks good or bad? You couldn't get any consensus on that.
Right.
Remember bringing the mail in, Jay, with gloves on and putting it on yesterday's newspaper on the kitchen counter, not knowing whether or not you're going to get infected by touching your Verizon bill. So that would come to mind. Understanding more broadly how to work the levers of power in New Jersey is always a learning experience, probably in any state, but New Jersey is the ultimate power state as it relates to politics. So getting, for all of my experience, you go through things for the first time. The first budget, the first sort of the first X, Y, or Z, whatever it is. Frustrating to some extent, but also went into that with my eyes open, knowing that there would be a learning curve, and we came through it.
Right. I was part of your advisory council on COVID, and you're right. There was a great unknown when this thing broke out. How contagious was it? Should I be wearing gloves to open my mail? Can I go out and walk the dog in the park? There was a huge unknown factor, and no one would have ever dared predict that the number of lives that we lost or at the scale that it reached ultimately. But we had you as our leader here in New Jersey to combat this thing, and I thought you did a terrific job. Governor, what do you think the state of New Jersey is going to look like in 50 years?
50
years, yeah. When you and I are long gone.
Oh boy, I'll say. If we're not, something crazy has happened. I think we will be rocking. I mentioned those strategic innovation centers. Each one of them is intended to throw off several dozen startups a year. You multiply that by 12, and that's assuming that more of them don't get done by Mikey or other governors, and I think they should, but that'll be their call. That's several hundred startups a year. I'll be darned if one of them is not the next Microsoft or Apple. So we're going to have reclaimed our absolute central role in the innovation economy, and that will continue. Secondly, I think we'll continue to be a high-value state, and I mean value in this case, protecting freedoms, rights, values that we hold dear. I think we'll continue to battle with density and congestion because we've become a hot state. There are more people living here than ever before, working than ever before, more businesses in operation than ever before. All of that's great, but what goes with that is a big responsibility for roads, bridges, rails, tunnels, public transportation, seats in schools, affordable housing, jobs for everybody. That'll continue to be, the environment is part of that. That'll continue to be a challenge, I think, for us. But I think we'll continue to be, Jay, a state defined, the two words, New Jersey plays really well around the world. In fact, we've come to call ourselves the world's state. We've done 14 international missions. And when I pitch the state, the first two words I reach for, and I think we'll continue to reach for them 50 years from now, are talent and location. We'll continue to invest in talent, particularly STEM talent, particularly artistic talent, and our location is second to none. We need to continue to invest in that, in infrastructure in particular. But I am a huge optimist, anywhere from January 21, 26, all the way out to 2076. I think this is a rockin' state that has firmly claimed its rightful place in the American sort of constellation. So
I'd like to ask you a broader question. You entered elected politics in 2016, 17, when you started campaigning. You won election twice. You never lost an election. How would you rate today's American democracy? How healthy do you think it is?
I'm concerned. It's hard not to be. The signs are screaming out at us in sort of all across the entire spectrum, from foreign policy, where you and I have deep experience, getting in bed with Russia, which attacked an innocent, Ukraine's not Switzerland, but it was minding its own business. And it had cut a deal on its own nuclear weapons back in the 90s. And now we're consulting the Russians. That's not who we are as a nation. I look at using the Justice Department as a personal vendetta kind of inside law firm. That's just not who we are. I look at all the redistricting stuff initiated by Republicans, and I'm not saying that as a partisan comment, but that's a fact, with Democrats kind of having no choice but to respond under the theory, don't bring a knife to a gunfight, being asked for our voter rolls, all of the immigration enforcement. I don't mean against criminals. They deserve it. I have no sympathy there. But I mean against innocent residents, including many green card holders and even passport holders who, quote unquote, just look like they might be immigrants. The whitewashing, pardon the use of the word, of American history. The attacks on diversity, equity, inclusion, and claiming all of that is woke, when you and I both know that, that's part of who we are. I'm worried. Now, I'm not worried beyond hope. Look at the elections we saw a few weeks ago. They were resounding, including places down ballot in Pennsylvania and Georgia. As we speak, I know this will air later this month, there's a special election in Tennessee. Almost no matter where it lands, it's a knife's edge election, if you believe the polls, in a district that Donald Trump won last year by several touchdowns. So I'm hopeful still, but we can't sit back and assume that all of this stuff will go away unless we aggressively push back, typically at the ballot box. New Jersey sues the administration. I approve suits sort of in the rhythm of 1 to 3 a day, every weekday since late January of this year, and in some cases on weekends. So that's several hundred cases that we're a part of. And I might add, so far, our batting average has been good. We need to hope and pray that the courts will hold up and perform their constitutional duties, as the Senate, in its advice and consent capacity, did not, and rolled over on a cabinet, not in its entirety. There are some qualified folks in there, but there are some unqualified folks. But by historic standards, not just my opinion or your opinion, but, vaccine skeptics with no evidence running the Department of Health and Human Services. That's not who we are.
Right.
And shame on the Senate for rolling over. So there's a lot of warning signs. I remain hopeful.
Governor, I got to ask you a difficult question here. You're no longer a candidate for elective office, so maybe you can shed some light on this. It's difficult for me. Doug Doyle told me something that was very upsetting. You're a Boston Red Sox fan? Can that really be true?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand Carl Yastrzemski. Yeah, Carl Yastrzemski, Triple Crown, 1967, when you and I were 10 years old. But you're a lifelong Boston Red Sox fan? How'd you get away with that being governor of New Jersey?
I know, kind of incredible, right? First of all, Jay, it got me no votes in New Jersey. Right. Secondly, remember when Hillary was running for Senate in New York, and she grew up in Chicago as a Cubs fan, and she put a Yankees hat on. By the way, you and I both love her, so this is nothing personal.
Right.
But she put a Yankees hat on. And I said to myself, and she took a lot of grief for that. I said, I can understand why she did it, but I'm not going to do that. As painful as it might be, I'm gonna be who I have always been. So yes, indeed, I remain a member of the Red Sox Nation. But if to make matters worse, the Patriots Nation, the Celtics Nation.
Oh boy. Okay.
The Devils have won me over.
You're a lame duck, so I guess you can do this. Okay.
No, that's exactly but I've been honest about this. The Devils have won me over because of 2 words on their shirts that says New Jersey.
Okay.
And I have unlimited time for that.
Okay. Well, it may not have won you any votes, but it may have cost you some votes. So who knows?
I think that's for sure.
Yes. So, Tammy was your terrific partner for 8 years. She was a terrific first lady. I could tell you two were very much a partnership for this state. What's next for the two of you after January 20?
Yeah, it's a good question that we don't have a good answer to. Tammy gave me as a birthday present several trips that we're going to go on, both on our own as well as with the kids. And our kids are now in their 20s. It's funny, when we were together back in the day in Ramstein and Landstuhl, when we went to Germany, we had just gotten there the year before. They were 12, 10, 8, and 6. Today, they're 28, 26, 24, 22, which is hard to fathom. We're going to take some time off, do some traveling, reload, recharge, leave all options open, taking nothing off the table, but going off the grid for some number of months.
Being anonymous for a while, right?
Exactly. And just, whether it's physically recharging or reading a book I wanted to read that I haven't gotten to, or just hanging out, whatever it might be, doing some travel, we'll do that for a while, and we'll see. Again, taking nothing, no options off the table.
Well, Governor Phil Murphy, I want to publicly thank you for your service to this state. I have thought for a long time that you are a terrific public servant. You're energetic. You're optimistic. You bring people in. You don't push people away. I've watched you lead this state for the last 8 years through crisis, and I thought you did a terrific job. And on a personal level, you and I have always been friends now for 15 years, maybe more than 15 years. And anytime I've asked you to do something, you've always been right there. As you know, my wife, Susan, is the sponsor of the USS New Jersey, the newest Virginia-class submarine of the U.S. Navy. She christened it a couple of years ago. You were there in Norfolk, Virginia with Tammy. And so you've been a great friend. You've been a great public servant, a great leader. And you entered public service for all the right reasons, in my observation. And I want to thank you for your leadership of this state on behalf of our listeners, Phil. And good luck to you in the future. I suspect, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, we have not seen the last of Phil Murphy in public service. I'm probably right to say we can't keep you away, and I hope there is an opportunity for you to return to public service in some capacity in the future. But thank you again, and thank you for your time, WBGO.
Hey, Jay, thank you right back. And just to say, you and I, as they say in baseball, there's something called a five-tool athlete, meaning they do it all. And you and I are each married, whether it's your Susan or my Tammy, we each married five-tool athletes. Thank you as well for your friendship. Thanks for having me on WBGO, and look forward to giving you a hug at some point soon.
Okay. Thank you, Phil.